Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the No Laying Up podcast. Solly here, Saturday night edition. Shout out to Farmers for the Saturday finish. It might not be the best for ratings. I think it's good for golf fans, though. I got my guy TC here. Hello, TC.
Hey, Solly, I'm pumped. A lot to talk about tonight. I watched more golf the last 2 days than I've watched in the last 2 months combined, and I enjoyed it. Despite Tory's best efforts, I enjoyed it.
I watched a lot of golf, none of it productively. It just hands and pacifiers all day, holding babies. It's a lot to do two things at once. Kevin Van Valkenburg is here with us as well. Hello, Kevin.
Solly, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me back on your program. I've been knee deep in Bethpage drama all week. We'll get to some of that later.
We
but
got some
it's
updates there.
Fun to watch the pro game for a little bit. We do have some updates to come.
Yeah, we're going to talk Tory. We got, of course, the back nine, a bunch of topics on here. We want to talk some Seth Waugh interview, some Derek Sprague interview, a whole bunch of, there's a big Cleeks rebrand. As Kevin mentioned, there's some follow-up to the Bethpage, maybe a little Gary Player stuff in there, some Corn Ferry, LPGA, USGA, and some, of course, TGL. So that's going to be the run of show tonight. But big news of the week, the 2025 Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X golf balls are now officially in a golf shop near you. It's got more speed off the tee, more control with the irons, and more spin with the wedges. There's a great clip on the DP World Tours. They did an unfiltered video from last week in Dubai. Padraig Harrington's in the locker room asking, one of the Titleist reps, like, hey, what's up with the new 2025 models? The rep goes through them all and says more speed, control, spin, and then right before they cut to the next scene, Patty he says it all. It's like, well, who doesn't want that? Like, what are you waiting for? Get out there and get some new golf balls. I posted it on my stories earlier this week, but the Pro V1 and Pro V1X are also immediately available with the enhanced alignment, extended alignment side stamp for more precise aim and accuracy. Sometimes I'll draw a line on the ball. This is going to save me from that inaccurateness and the smudges that come from putting a Sharpie and trying to draw a line. I always hate the line that I end up drawing on the ball. So it's a perfect alignment tool. If you like alignment tools, it's going to be great. I need to do a little bit more experimenting with it, but I appreciate them sending that over. In addition to the enhanced alignment, Titleist also offers over 40 different alignment aid designs through their website or custom order. How about that? 40 different alignment aid designs.
I might need to have him do one that looks like the spear.
That might be kind of sweet. Even like a little Cleek, the Cleek. Is this a rebrand? This is an old Cleek hat that you got on tonight?
I'm a loyalist to the our roots, but listen, Solly, we'll get there.
Tradition.
We'll get there. The new ball is really good. I don't know why anybody will play anything else. Seriously, unless you're just really cheap and you don't want to spend the money. Like, it's the one thing you play every shot, every hole, every round, and just invest in the best.
Visit Titleist.com to learn more and find out which model is right for your game. Taking it out to HE at Torrey Pines. He wins for the 5th time, first in a few years, gets the first interview with his daughter, running on the green. The flusher is back, TC.
I'm thrilled. The more I've gotten to know Harris, I played with him, what was that, a year and a half ago at the RSM Pro-Am. His caddy E's a great guy. He was really good when we were growing up, and he won a bunch of Southeastern Junior Golf Tour events, and I've kind of looked up to him ever since then. And the more I get to know him, the more and all the guys up at Sea Island, all the guys on tour really are like, dude, he's just like the most genuine, authentic, comfortable in his own skin, thoughtful dude. So happy for him. He's finally healthy, and as Randy, so accurately foretold, he's absolutely flushing the ball, and that was a really, really smart, steady round of golf today. He wasn't hitting a bunch of fairways on the front nine. Putter was good. Played smart golf on the back nine. It was really fun to watch him build that round of golf.
I was convinced midday Saturday, or in round 3 on Friday. I was like, oh, this guy, I had a little personal action maybe on HE. What a wonderful guy to have action on when he's in contention, because he mentioned it in the post round afterwards. He's like, yeah, I may look calm on the outside, but emotions were going a mile a minute. I never felt that. Watching and rooting for him today, I was he's kind of he was minus 1,300 when he was in the middle of 17 fairway with a 1-shot lead. Like, the books were giving him so much respect. I know 18's a par 5, but a lot could go wrong on that hole, and we saw so many putts get missed over the course of the last several rounds of this tournament. Dude, that was a grind and a slog, 5.5 hours in that final group. And just having to CBS did an awesome job all week covering the elements of those short putts. like short putts on the POA with that much undulation around the greens and the wind on top of it, and just kind of getting them baked out. Like it was just really, really, really difficult. And to keep that steadiness throughout the day, and it was really hard to get close to the pin. So it was lag putting and like chipping from just off the green all day long. And
Dude, his lag putting was insane.
It was
really
so good. So
and then
good.
on the what was it, the 12th hole or 13th hole, that pitch shot, like he was short of the green. That pitch shot, that he hit
75
up
yards, 12. Yeah.
oh my god, it was just chef's kiss.
That was, and that they did a good job documenting that too. The pin was up on a tier, and the greens were firm enough that he had to. I looked like he took like around a 56 degree instead of a lob wedge. Landed at the bottom of the slope, had it skip up to the top, and stuffed it in there and made the par. It was just it was impressive. He's a
lag putting extraordinaire.
He had cracked, like, if I look it up, back in 2021, he won a couple times in 2021, won the Travelers, won the Century. He had made it all the way to 5th in the data golf rankings in the world at the time.
Dude, he's so good.
So good. He made the Ryder Cup team, of course, that year. Battled some injuries, but I think like the best is still potentially to come for him. I mean, he's just supremely, supremely talented, and just to have the short game play out the way that it did. I mean, such a good putter too. He's never had a strokes season on the PGA Tour in 14 years where he's lost strokes on the greens. Never had a single one. To hit it that good and to putt it like that is a dangerous combination.
TC, I think you made a good point in our chat, in our Slack, that he's so good that he makes you want more, right? It makes you feel like, did Harris underachieve a little bit? Like he should be a guy who's winning a couple tournaments a year.
Yeah, he's absolutely, like, I think he's one of the most talented guys of his generation. I've always kind of said that. I'm like, he's a sleeping giant. He's just never really, like, I mean, shit, he's won 5 times. That's good. But like, I think he has the upside to, I've bet him shit, probably 3 out of the last 5 years in the PGA Championship. Like, I was convinced he was going to win at Southern Hills a few years ago. Like, he's just got that kind of game, and he's played well. Like, he plays well at Memphis. He played well this week at Torrey. He plays well on hard golf courses. And, he's just, it seemed like the harder that golf course got today, the more comfortable he was too. So I don't know. I'm super impressed. I know, like, I'm a Harris English homer, but really even his post-round interview was just, like, you could tell it meant something to him. And he's a pro's pro. He's a class act. Like he's a dude, man.
TC, I did promise that we would invite him on the Trap Draw to talk about the drive-by truckers, because after I wrote about Jason Isbell back beginning last year, he wrote me a note that said that he'd been watching Isbell since he was with the truckers way back in the day. And I was like, well, come on the Trap Draw. Let's do a perfect club about this. So if you could just bump that ahead in management, I know I took you guys to that trucker show in Baltimore. I think you're very confused that whole day, that one time.
And he just loves drinking light beers, I think too.
Love that.
So,
he's like the poster boy for like what, probably when we started this podcast, like, that guy's boring, but then we've got a chance to get to know him a little bit. And he was great. He was episode 467 on the No Laying Up podcast. It was a long time ago. He was a great interview. Like, and didn't give like cookie cutter answers, gave you straight up answers on a bunch of stuff. And so go back and listen to that if you want to get to know him a little bit better. And
his caddy Eric got a crazy story. I mean, he came up, I think he was friends with either Ken Green or Calc from like either growing up or at some point. And he was a good player, and then came out, caddied for those guys. I think he went to prison for a while and just got caught up in the wrong stuff, and then came back out and he caddied for Anthony Kim for a long time. He caddied for Jeff Overton, and he's been on Harris's bag for probably 11, 12 years now. So it's a really, really cool pairing. And they're like, the way they talk to each other and stuff, it's fun to watch.
We got Sam Stevens shot a 400 par final round 68, hit it in the water on 18, then hit the stick with his 4th shot, almost hold that out, save par, put a little threat on that one. He did not play the 18th hole very well over the final 2 rounds. He made double on it on Saturday and then hit it in the water. I mean, he made par.
He 3-putted from 5 feet.
So. It was tough. I watched that. That was very tough.
He just blacked out it was like a rolling brownout.
Well, and he played an awesome round of golf on the conditions. The conditions weren't really difficult on Friday, but he had a very, very good round of golf going. That kind of blew that at the very end. But
he went under par on the South course all 3 rounds and went over par on the North.
Oh my God. Was that round 2? Yeah, he was the Thursday that was difficult everywhere. So I would call that the bad side of the draw. I mean, I know a lot of people said, you'd rather have the easier course and the harder conditions, but with North, you want to get your birdies all at once if you can. I would think. I assume Harris was Harris the good side of the draw? No, he was bad. Yeah, he was the good side of the draw. He got to play the North course on Wednesday. But
yeah, I thought Stevens and Novak, watching both those guys. Like, I know Novak shot 74 today, kind of a bad miss, like short-sighted himself on, what was that, 15, but otherwise, he didn't back down, and he hit some really good shots when he needed to. He made a lot of putts, and just one of those rounds where, like, and he kind of looks like he's got kind of a JB Holmes aesthetic going on.
It's a
Then every
unit.
time, yeah, but then every time I looked over, like, he was pretty talkative out there, and he was pretty engaging to watch. And then getting to watch, is it Pot Geeter?
yes,
Pot,
you
I
Pot
can
so
know.
I
Geeter?
think it's
Yes,
I think it's Pothito. Is the way I
Pothito.
literally watched like 3 videos in preparation for this podcast about it, but the
Yeah.
South Africans pronounce it Pothito, like with a kind of an
Okay.
H almost.
If Trevor didn't do that on the broadcast, we're not doing it here.
Trevor might be Americanized now.
That's
I don't know,
very true.
But I mean, like basically getting to watch him as well.
Oh,
He was a little wayward today, but I mean, he was flying at 350 at sea level in like cold
50 degrees. Like he had 192 ball speed when it was 50 degrees off the first tee.
Hit 205 ball speed.
Do we
in testing a couple weeks ago?
The BSI meters, TC, are blinking red on Potgeeter. I need a response from you on this one.
Well, he's 20. I feel like
Okay.
he's like unrefined uranium right now. Like,
I love that we never defined
figure
what
out how to
BSI
turn him
was,
in.
and you didn't even blink. You knew exactly what I meant
Well, like
by BSI.
like your guy Lantos out there, he's a BSI.
For those listening, a BSI is a ball speed imposter, which I would very much argue that Lanto's data golf skill ranking looks a little different than Potgeeter's, but he's got some time to grow into it. But yeah, that was a wild final round.
He's fun to watch, man. I'm excited he's involved. I'm excited he's on the PGA Tour, and he seems like a really like good kid. Like, he's got a bright future ahead of him.
The long, narrow golf courses, he should, his data set should start blinking at you early in those weeks. Like, just Torrey Pines South was a fit for his game. On the Novak thing, I'm forever a fan of that guy because I made like a really slight mention back in summer of 2021 when you guys may not remember this, but people were arguing for Phil to be on the Ryder Cup team in 2021, and
Randy was arguing
That's right.
he was like 240th in the world or something like that. And I just made a comment. I was like, Phil is right next to Andrew Novak on the rankings. Like Andrew Novak, that's a tennis player. Like we're not putting Phil on the team. And he replied to that tweet. He said, low key dangerous on the tennis court. Not gonna lie. So he's a listener of the show, and he did not take any offense to that as well. So
he's a Wofford Terrier, just
Did
like
you see they
Herb
referred to
McCurdy.
they referred to him as having played basketball in college at some point. He was an intramural basketball champion. I looked it up. He's the 2017 Wofford intramural basketball champion. I'm not sure if that was a research failure. I was like, wow, this dude played college hoops? No, it did not hold up to fact checking.
Technically, he did play hoops in college.
Hey,
but
as did you, Kyle. I'm sure, Solly.
couple things on him though. Like they kept CBS kept like putting a camera right in his face after a couple of those final shots, and he was giving you like he was talking to his caddy, but gave him a reaction of like, yeah, that one might have been a groove low. It may have come just off the front, and on his shot into 18. He's like, I got what I was looking for out of that, but it's just a perfect tweener, and I couldn't take enough distance off that one. It was kind of like just getting guys talking about the nitty-gritty details instead of announcers guessing on that stuff was just that was some of the most engaging stuff, man.
Thank you, Justin Thomas, for sending memos this week.
A shout out too to I thought Dottie and Trevor and Ian Baker Finch were on point. Like coming down the stretch, I know on 17 they were talking about Novak's strategy, and then Harris taking like it was just very clear, concise, strategic analysis in the moment. Same thing on 18 when HE hit that AOC ball, kind of the hot left ball, and it was like, you know what, like he's gonna take his medicine here and all that. And then I think from there you got you got Dottie. She was calling out Lanto yesterday for potential backstopping, taking advantage of Ludwig being sick as a dog and like not being able to mark his ball. And then today going off on the pace of play. It was great. Dottie unplugged, Dottie unleashed. I'm here for
Dottie
it,
is
baby.
such an OG, just forever.
I'm surprised by like I heard her on the broadcast on Friday, and I was like, man, it's good to have Dottie back in my life. And I would not have said that 5-6 years ago. I don't think. I feel like she's gotten more direct and more on the nose. Can we talk a little of the pace of play stuff? She said it's got to improve. It's got to happen. I need answers from people on this when this comes up into the future, and I need more people to at least acknowledge what the point that I've made on repeat about this being a traffic issue. Like I need some reaction from, I need some solutions from people other than just like they need to play faster. I need to hear that in the public. Or like, I'm losing my mind on this topic of like, they got to fix the slow play. They got to fix the slow play. Like everything that's happening in golf is making golf slower, and jamming this many guys on a golf course with this much daylight. There's only one way that this ends. I just don't, I'm surprised. I'm amazed that people don't recognize that the tour would like it to go faster. Like, would absolutely like it to go faster. And if it was easy, it would be done, is my overall point on it. And
But I feel like you're just throwing your hands up and being like, "Hey, well, it's complicated. Like the traffic's bad." And I'm like, they can start by raise the fines like higher, and then I would say just enforce the rules. Put more guys on the clock.
Say
and
this.
do that
The
stuff.
rule is you're not on the clock until you're out of position.
Or change the rules. Change the rules basically. Like I think you're not going to solve it by not changing the rule or enforcing the spirit of the rules. I think that's a place to start. There's structural changes. I think the smaller fields in some of these events, especially around shorter days of the year, are certainly going to help as well. I think the signature events should be a like weirdly a proving ground for this as well. Of hey, we're playing twosomes, and we've got 75 guys in the field. Like buckle up, boys. You're playing fast today.
And the times are way better when they're all off the first tee in twosomes, like hour plus probably compared to a winter threesomes both sides. And I guess I still don't understand the point of needing a shot clock or needing to play under 40 seconds if you don't have anywhere to go, right? I don't think that's going to solve the problem. It's not going to make the round of golf go faster to make guys play fast, to go wait on the guys right in front of them in the next group.
So the point that you made to me when I wrote about this last year, which I think was a good one, was that like traffic, is a snake, right? We sent that video around. Be happy to share it again. That if there's a backup way far ahead, that it can just basically is a domino effect. So I think in this era, when we can time everybody, when we can put an Apple tag on every single person and know where they are at all times. Like if you are constantly causing backups, then I think I could see
we're yanking your license, baby,
or constantly asking for a ruling or a second ruling or whatever. Like I could see a scenario where it's like, hey, you know what? You have a total of like 8 minutes of extra time ruling for this tournament. If you use them up, you can't ask for a ruling anymore. You're just gonna have to play it.
It's like a mound
figure
visit.
It out. Like they didn't ask for
taking your
rulings
mound
all the
visits.
time back in the 70s and 80s. They just played what they understood the rules to be. And so if you are constantly causing backups, I could absolutely be like, yo, you're getting bad starts from now on. I don't care like what your ranking is.
There you go.
I feel like that would at least be like a positive solution to move traffic forward. You are the part of the problem. Get going.
And like there's micro and there's macro solutions, right? I think also, Solly, I mean, they could certainly look at the equipment, the ball, things of that nature. We'll get into that a little bit with your guy, the D-man, Sprague.
That's what I'm talking about. Like that's a solution. Like that's a change.
Torrey this week, it hasn't rained in San Diego in 6 months. 6 months. And do you see how thick that rough was? How much water you have to dump on that golf course for it to look like that? It's fucking crazy.
Added wind and those green speeds, and like there was all it. That's where I'm like, I hate to be apologist for the players on this. Like, dude, it's just not going to go fast in that format. Like, it just absolutely is not.
Green speeds,
green speeds, 100%, absolutely. Yeah. But like, that's a reflection of technology. Like, the green speeds are faster.
But they could have done it at Chapultepec, or there's certain courses they can go to, or maybe they slow the greens down but make the hole locations more extreme, and try that out once in a while. Like, hey, you know what? This week they're gonna be rolling at a 9, guys. Buckle up. It's not a putting contest. Yeah.
It goes faster at Kapalua. I swear it does. I maintain this as a very serious proposal. A very thin, can't see it on TV, gray chalk line around the hole, 30 inches and in, scoop it. Like we just don't like if you really want it to go faster, like you don't need people marking putts inside that level, taking their time reading those. Like that would seriously change the pace that everybody moves at. It
That
will
would
never happen, but yeah.
that would erase 40% of the shots that
That's
NBC shows.
Think how many more commercials they could air then. I would make that sacrifice. Anyways, AT&T has a new guarantee because most things in life are not guaranteed. Like you don't always get the rental car you requested. Your
Oh, Solly, on that note, I just got a call from Hertz. They said, "Hey, we can't fulfill your reservation for
seriously.
tomorrow. Do you know it's the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro?"
Yes, I'm aware.
I said, "Yeah, I know. That's why
That's
I'm
why we
coming
for the
in."
car. Sometimes your wedding might not turn out like you dreamed it would. Someone might maybe make another pot of coffee in the break room after drinking the last drop of the last one. Don't get me started. It's not a guarantee. In a world where nothing is guaranteed, AT&T is bringing something new to the table. AT&T is introducing a guarantee with connectivity you depend on, deals you want, and service you deserve, or they'll make it right. So if you want to know more about the AT&T guarantee, head to att.com/guarantee. AT&T, connecting changes everything. Terms and conditions apply. Visit att.com/guarantee for details. Absolutely.
Solly, one other thing I'd like to shout out about AT&T. I love the international plan. When you land an international, like, when you land overseas and you just stay on your plan, like your data plan and everything like that for, like you don't have to think about it. It's freaking awesome. And like I feel like 10 years ago, I felt like I would land in an international country and I'd be like, "Oh my god, like this is going to bankrupt me if I turn my phone on." Now it's just like straight through with AT&T. I love it. Personal endorsement.
What's next for you on Farmers? There's a lot of other stuff happened throughout the course of this week.
Jackson Coyven, Luke Clanton, both impressive again. Just wanted to shout them out. Danny Walker hit all 18 greens in regulation en route to a first round 65
on the South course.
Which is like, whoa. That's crazy. Solly, the Norovirus was running wild in the street.
Was that what it was?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, the WDs started. I think we thought that a lot of them were because guys found out that they were going to be going back to Torrey in a few weeks, or at least some of the top players. But it turned out there were, I think, 15, 16 guys WD'd between that and then suspension of play, guys being way off the cut line, after what was that, Thursday. But yeah, I mean, Ludwig, obviously, he was going through it.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us about your experience with the norovirus?
I believe it to be, and I hope it's not like a too quick of a reaction or recency bias of like, I don't think I've ever been that sick. It was like 30 hours of, it took me 4 days to get anything more than applesauce down. And it was just like, it was 30 hours of it was just the worst lingering between like, not just puking violently, but the weird feeling of like, should I, do I have to, which is worse than just violently puking. I could not imagine playing golf with any of that. So if anybody had that virus and was withdrawal, I don't understand how Ludwig got through that. That's I thought he was going to bounce back today because I was like, he must not have the real thing if he's not withdrawing, because otherwise he'd be running to the bathroom every 20 minutes.
For him to shoot 74 in the third round, like going through that, I mean, he hit 5 greens or 5 fairways, which is that's not a Ludwig round of golf.
Part of a champion, TC.
Hopefully he bounces back for Pebble, because he should have won this tournament last year. I think leaderboard wise, Sungjae, just a completely non-competitive top 5, backdoor top 5. That was kind of sick. Chris Ventura playing nice golf, T4 from him. What else? Hey, Taylor Pendrith finished T7. I didn't see a single shot from him this week.
A lot of BSIs in that top 10. But Pendrith, Will Gordon up there as well. Lonto up there might say a little bit about Torrey.
Like, I wish, like, I get all the stuff about going to somewhere where they already have the infrastructure set up and all of that
for Genesis. You're saying
for Genesis, but man, like, could we have gone to like the North Course?
That would have been way more fun. Yeah,
that would have been fun, or hey, cut down a bunch of the rough and make it play different, or something. Do something. I guess the public's going to be playing out on the course for the next couple weeks.
Just have them just trudge through the rough then, please. Like, give us some light rough. Like, when the greens play as firm as they did this past week, like light rough would play at Torrey. Like it's still it's a layer of it's not a turkey shoot from the rough. That's when pro golf gets really boring, is when the rough isn't up and the greens are soft and the rough doesn't have any effect on your shots. It's almost has too strong of an effect now. You can't even take on risk or try to land a ball on the green. Introduce that element to it. I think it could potentially play as interesting as Torrey can play. Just rough that deep is just, and I get it. Like we're a lot of birdie fest this time of year. People like seeing a winning score under 10 under par. I thought that was a relatively refreshing watch overall. It just, the challenge of it is interesting. It's just like the most dull kind of challenge, in my opinion.
It'd have been fun if Scheffler and Rory were involved in this. I would have liked to see them like take this on. Hopefully they'll play Genesis. I don't know what their plans are, but it would have been fun to see that.
There's a lot of guys, like, especially I think on Friday, there was a lot of guys like double, chipping from rough to rough, basically around the greens. And then it's such a double-edged sword because there's so many holes that look like the drone shots are so spectacular. And then when you really look at the really high drone shots, you're like, that's the piece of land they had to work with. And this is what they came up with. Are you kidding me? Like, it's such like that 13th hole at par 5. I mean, especially with that pin today, that was the most Mickey Mouse dog shit par 5.
It's so bad.
And it's like a 3-shot hole, which I normally love 3-shot par 5s. And it's just not good. It's just bad design. So anyway, I know people are going to call us haters and all that, so I'll get back to the leaderboard here. Solly, do you see Lanto's outfit today?
I believe I did, yes.
He was wearing blue shoes, blue pants, blue belt, blue polo, and a blue hat.
Respect.
So just shout out to you. Joel Damon, good week from him. 75 today, but he was lacing his hybrids in his driving irons into some of those par 3s.
And par 4s.
Keegan? T15?
Yes.
The giraffe?
Get ready, Solly.
What am I getting ready for?
My guy's going to have to just recuse himself because he's going to make the team on points and recuse himself later.
Do you think he recuses if he makes it on points?
No, I don't, actually.
I think he'll play if he makes it on points.
Who is the captain if that happens, though?
He's going to be playing captain.
That will not be that'll be such a disaster. I have to, the giraffe would have to turtle up if that's the case. I can't have my guy.
Brant Snedeker, the captain.
Oh God, no, that would be the worst. Honestly, if Keegan just said he'll only play like singles, maybe that would be a scenario. But
lastly, Sammy Valimaki, T15. Just wanted to shout him out. Ryan Gerard, T15.
What does lastly mean? What does lastly mean?
I don't know. I don't know. Goddard played well. I think Goddard. I'm buying stock in Goddard. I think he's another, like, he's just raw, and he's just like, there's so much low hanging fruit to improve upon.
How many? How many fair? It only 3 rounds, or no? So how many fairways do you think Goddard hit this week? This is all 4 rounds out of 56. Don't look. How many fairways do you think Goddard hit this week?
22.
16 of 56.
God.
Second in driving distance, though. So that's what Torrey rewards. I gotta respect it.
Yeah. What else we got? That's really it. I think.
Is anybody else feeling like? I used to really look forward to watching this tournament. I think it probably had a lot to do with the cat, maybe a little bit of CBS. It feels like I know the PGA Tour season feels like it starts 3 different times, but this was one of them where it felt like it started. And just what we've seen out of this tournament, really the last 2 years, I have to shout out the effort they've made to do the Wednesday through Saturday format to get away from football. A lot of
what was the first year they did that?
This is, I think, the 3rd iteration of this, if I remember right. There was a great article we sent the leak out a couple years ago, and just like what they give up to do that. Like, you give up the Pro-Am. If I either really damages the Pro-Am, or they give up the Pro-Am to do that, which is a big hit. And Farmers, again, not a sponsor of ours, but they do so many great things in golf in terms of the Advocates Pro Tour, which will, on Sunday, they'll have the broadcast out for that event that they host out at Torrey Pines South on that Sunday. And so I appreciate the effort that they're putting into this tournament and keeping the tradition with it. But man, it's turned into kind of a bleak one with the field and, the golf course and just how it has all really evolved. I don't know what its identity is at this point.
it seems like the more they improve Pebble or even Amex, like Amex is stealing guys. Like there's, people just have to skip tournaments here and there. And I know Mexico is kind of a built-in week for guys to do that before it heads to Florida. But yeah, it just feels like it's kind of like I don't know what this tournament is at this point. It's just sandwiched between, kind of and really the more Waste Management Phoenix Open, like that continues to be good. Like this is going to be the one that guys have to skip.
Yeah.
Then the way that the schedule's currently constructed. So, Sully, I want to talk about the decorators tweet. Did you see this?
Oh my God.
When
Poor ass
keeping it
tweeted it.
engagement goes wrong.
It got me. It's got me really good.
Yeah. So the tour, which tour's been doing a better job of late on the socials, just not tweeting as much. Granted, I called them out this week for the announcement for the Genesis coming to Torrey. They tweeted out a picture of the North Course, not the South Course, which seemed like kind of an avoidable mistake, and it was up for 5 hours. Right, that was actually on the website. And then play was suspended at 5:05 p.m. Eastern time due to high winds during the second round of the at Farmers Insurance Open. That was on January 23rd. And the tweet was presented by at Decorators, which is a decking, the official decking company of the PGA Tour, which evidently they signed up for exclusivity or for
The weather delay
the
tweets.
Yeah, the weather delay tweets. So, and they just got like there were like 100 replies, and they're just absolutely getting gutted by people.
Thanks a lot, decorators. It's one of them.
15 to 25 mile an hour wind, too high for everyone. Now the winds were higher. The balls were
winds on the North Course were absolutely brutal. Balls were blowing off of it. Do green speeds need to be this fast? No, and it all contributes to that. It was a justified delay. It really was. There was a lot of people grandstanding on that one, but it was a justified delay. But is it very funny to have your delay tweets presented by someone else other than the tournament sponsor? Yes, it is. These guys will sell
Anti-Faldo,
anything.
he said these impressions are unhealthy, but damned if there aren't a lot of them. Hashtag Chad. Got to know what they paid for the official play suspended naming rights. And then Tomato Tommy 10, Decorators Media Agency. We saw incredibly high engagement from our partnership with the PGA Tour. Thumbs up. So
love this one from Matt Geddes. Thanks a lot at Decorators.
Oh man.
No, that was a I texted you guys on Thursday morning watching Max and Hideki play a hole in the North Course. Like, dude, let's get some more cameras over there. Like, there's some absolute carnage about to go on over there. But what other tour news you got for us, TC?
Yeah, we talked about Genesis moving to Torrey Pines South. The 2027. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to. Is the cat gonna limp his way around?
I don't think there's any way in hell the cat plays.
I would think he would have probably tried to play Genesis though. He was talking about that. I would like play it if it had been at at Riv, but I you gotta think you're right. Like there's no way he tries to do it, which is another bummer for the tour because that would have been a ratings bump if the cat was going to roll out to play Riv.
Yeah. I wouldn't if he was going to play Genesis. I mean, he's won on this course like 84 times. Yeah. I know there's a lot of rough, but I don't know. I think he
pretty big walk
potentially could. I don't know.
Get out there, hit 2 irons again into the fairway. Come on.
I think he's still probably steamed from flying the green by 40 yards during TGL this week.
It was not the tech's fault. It was not the tech's fault. Tiger's just rusty. He just hit a sand wedge 130 yards.
What else we got? 2027 Open Championship going to St. Andrews, the old course, which, as I understand it, 2028 is open for either one of the English sites or potentially Port Marnock. And then 29,
which would be the first time ever being held in Ireland.
Yes,
Portrush is in Northern Ireland, which is part of the United Kingdom. And Ireland is a separate country for my American friends that are not maybe a little bit more geographically challenged. This would be a very, very different statement to take the Open Championship to Ireland.
Are the British going to annex Ireland? Are they going to? Is this like history going backwards again?
If they're so committed to this not being called the British Open anymore, they're like, no, you can't even call it. Actually, even taking it to Northern Ireland, that is not part of Great Britain. Okay. So, they're really trying to shed the British title.
Take it to Australia.
Which, again, through all of me and KVV's research, all of us calling it the British Open could not be much more justified. We all grew up with every single newspaper and every television broadcast calling it the British
Welcome
Open.
to the British Open, the 1973 British Open.
Guys, I call it the Open Championship. That's just me. But I think I've gotten some of the nastiest emails from some Irish people for floating that out as a rumor like a well substantiated rumor in the past that they're going to go to Portmarnock. And I'm like, yo, like talk to your government or talk to the RNA. Like, don't talk to me. I'm not like, making a political statement or something here. I'm just reporting what I've heard. Rory's talked about it. They're doing all sorts of infrastructure improvements at Portmarnock, all that. And then, guys, I heard via a club captain with some loose lips at a boozy lunch, I'm told that the 29 Open Championship is rumored to be at Muirfield.
DC,
Back to Muirfield for the first time.
That's just reporting. There's so many secrets are spilled in journalism over boozy lunches in dark cloakrooms. So,
and it was not a boozy lunch at Muirfield or anywhere in Scotland.
Okay.
I'll take the Scots out of that.
Gotcha.
So, and then tying off a loose end from last week, we were talking about kind of what Sepp Straka is as far as how, like, what kind of real estate is Sepp Straka, or like, how do you define him? And this guy Mustache Adam on X said, Ari Sepp, he's an upper middle class house that has a great yard, 4,000 plus square feet with an amazing finished basement that has room for a simulator, but located on a busy major street. It's a really nice house, but the location could be a lot better.
Interesting.
I thought that was
a
good way to kind of, frame it. So, Sally, you want to talk about JT's letter to the players?
Yeah, this we'd heard this was kind of percolating that it would be going out there, but Justin Thomas sent a letter which was basically posted in public, just calling on players to participate more in television broadcasts. He admits some of it of we're all inclined to say no. I've been a person to say no to some of this stuff, getting mic'd up and doing interviews and just getting out there in front of it. I'm very much paraphrasing this thing, but it's essentially things we've been calling for on this podcast for the last eight or so years of just give fans a chance to kind of see personalities and just get inside the bag on these conversations and stuff I'm assuming that there's something already in the works on this, and that, with the developments of the walk and talks that CBS has done over the past few years, I'm guessing they're ready to take this up a step and just mic guys up. And I think as we always say when we have this conversation, it's not that we're expecting the most hilarious things ever or the most personality ever when these guys are in serious competition, but you can do so much stuff with recorded conversations. We've seen that in TGL of like, this was said 90 seconds ago and we missed it, on the sub mix, but like we can flash back to so-and-so saying this thing that is just so additive to the telecast. It gets really old to watch hours and hours and hours of and hearing the same commentators talking the whole time. And
Andrew Novak.
Yeah.
That's the perfect example.
Those little
right?
snippets from Novak were just like some of the stuff that sticks out the most. So if they can actually execute on this step that, again, was extremely obvious, should have been done a long time ago, I promise I'm not going to get bitter about this. This would be a great thing. It could very much be too little, too late, as we'll get to with some of the other news that is happening on the ratings front. But this is a good development. Good for JT kind of putting himself out there on this. I'm sure he's, probably gotten poked and prodded and ridiculed a little bit in the locker room for it, and on the X app, as many are want to do. But
it's the everything app.
Good. It's good. It's good leadership, if you will, of saying like, I'll be the guinea pig on a lot of this stuff, but let's all do this. Let's all get in the game here.
Speaking of which, ratings. How we looking?
Not great. There was 232,000 people that watched on Golf Channel, the Amex on last Sunday for Sepp Straka's win. There was 534,000 for Nick Dunlap the week before. This is from Josh Carpenter, Josh A. Carpenter on Twitter. Great follow for a lot of sports business stuff. 2 years ago was 391,000 for John Rahm, which again, it's not great. The Golf Channel ratings are always going to be way less than network TV, and Sony and Kapalua and Amex, because of football, get squeezed in a lot of ways over to Golf Channel. So it's never rated well, but to get 40% of the viewers that you got the prior year is tough. I understand there's been some changes to Nielsen, so I don't know if like we're going to get I
think this is the new Nielsen calculation, which should be more favorable to the tour though.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was hurtful. It was from, I don't know. I don't know what the new Nielsen changes are, but that's a lot. That's not a lot of people watching your golf tournament, and
Yeah.
that's not a good sign. So maybe figure something out. But
I maintain that they have just wildly underestimated the backlash to all the making everything about money. It's just people are turned off by it, and I don't know how you get those people back.
it won't be
That's the
before the
question.
game comes back together. Like there's
I
no
know.
possible way anything could happen to make people come back before that. Like maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we should be rooting for the ratings to tank as hard and as big as possible.
There was a tweet too from Josh Bennett, Jish Swish, who this felt like a callback to when I was sitting in my 300 square foot apartment in Boston like 9 or 10 years ago. Like,
2016, I remember this.
logging everything from Riviera and filleting, CBS. But this was Golf Channel. He said, I recorded Golf Channel's 3 hour and 47-minute broadcast yesterday and noted to the second of everything they showed in hopes to provide data for debates on the timeline about the quality of the golf broadcast. Here's a thread of what I found. I would love to hear your thoughts. So he did commercial load. He did, shots. He did type of shots. He did drone shots versus blimp shots. He
Putts.
My favorite thing in all this,
granular as hell.
I know, my funniest note after this review, I noted 7 seconds of quote showing airplanes in the air.
Yeah.
We don't need to go through all. It's incredible detail of all of it, but a lot of people's takeaway was just like how screwed golf coverage is and how stale it's gotten, and how many putts you're watching, and how many commercials you're actually watching, how much playing through you're actually watching, and yeah, it's not.
Which it feels so noticeably different on Golf Channel than it does on CBS these days.
Yeah, and
right?
I thought CBS was not dealt a great hand in terms of names on the leaderboard, and not exciting golf. It was a close tournament. There weren't a lot of exciting moments that really happened on this Sunday, but as you said, TC, earlier, they were all over all the key details of so many of the shots. Colt, like just the whole team on just the shelves, the pins were on, and where's all the considerations of all the shots. What a good shot was going to be on 16 in particular, with that pin on the far left and wind off the left. Like good golf nerd stuff. So I salute them for a strong start. And it's not easy with Nance being in Kansas City to do that. And they make that part seamless as well. There's no delay, and they give a shit about their product, and they continue to improve it. They have some improved technology and graphics on some of those kind of drone tracers and the little spots where they're expecting it to land and things like that. And man, it just seems like they're happy to do things without like, here comes the big debut of blah blah blah, and draw all this attention to it. They just do it.
Just do it. Show us. Don't tell us. And that's where like Golf Channel, it just seems like such a stale presentation. It's not even the substance of the presentation. It's just the way that they present it, even at this point too. There's just no energy or creativity with it. So I don't know. I don't know where that leaves us.
I do really appreciate this is CBS now, that the new kind of shot tracer where the guy hits it and then immediately we flip to the 3D kind of version of it, and you see the ball in the air. Like, the alternate version was just like you're watching a ball against the sky, no context at all where it is, for a good 6 seconds until it lands. This is just a way better way of tracking where shots are in the air. And so shout out to them for that.
And the stuff they've done on all right, here's Harris English's first 2 drives on this hole went in the first 2 rounds, just speaks again. It just is, it's solid effort, context, and keeps you engaged. So
Seller's shy, man. He's he's doing the damn thing.
Allegedly, and I don't time the stuff out anymore, but their commercial load is allegedly the same as NBC, but it just feels different, which is all I care about.
That's even more damning.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care actually what your commercial time is. I care about what I feel like when I'm watching it. If I want to, if it drives me crazy, that's obviously a bad thing, but it does not on CBS.
All right, we're getting down the wormhole. Okay. And people are gonna, we got to pull ourselves
complimentary
out.
on
drawing this together. TC, keep it positive. Keep it positive.
Last bit of tour news, and then the back 9.
Netflix announced Full Swing season 3, premiering a month from today, February 25th, featuring Keegan, Ludwig, Joel Damon, Bryson, Big Tone, who was Solly's pick this week to win, who missed the cut, finished +5, I believe. Ricky, Adam Hadwin and Nick Taylor, Shane Lowry, Team Rose, Neil Shipley, and JT, as well as a big look into the President's Cup. Are you guys excited for the new season or hopeful?
I don't know. I like watching it with my kids because they are kind of simplistic golf viewers, and they want to just see the sort of stories of people that they don't, they kind of know, but they're not really deep in on. And so, I think if there's a whole Bryson episode, I think that could be a lot of fun. I'll be in on that. I feel like I already Big Tone, Ricky, none of that interests me. Team Rose, no, thank you. Like Shipley, yeah. Ludwig, I can see getting into that. Keegan, yeah, definitely. That's appointment TV for me, but
I
the rest
think
of it,
I think it's hard to follow. So, I mean, 2022 was like the year that like the golf world blew up. It was very good to have cameras in there for that. 23 Ryder Cup carried a lot of that. Like those final two episodes were fantastic, and following the picks process and the Keegan stuff and all that was what made season 2 what it was. I don't think President's Cup can carry that in the same way. So on that regard, it's a tick down for me. The Bryson part is great. Like that's great news.
Yeah.
Just not like it wasn't a dynamite year last year in golf, and kind of how I felt about Drive to Survive as the years go along. It's kind of like I kind of see the formula here, and I don't know if I need to be really invested in watch this. I'll watch it, of course, but I am still kind of I'm hoping, and I don't know this to be the case, but and I've said this in prior reviews we've done of it, of like I don't know how if you're maybe it isn't the goal to keep the hardcore golf fans involved, and I get kind of what the purpose of putting it out on Netflix is, but character pieces versus something like that tells the story of the year is as a challenge, because like you don't we're not following any real chronology is where you you'll kind of lose me a little bit, honestly, in it, and that's just my
Yeah.
opinion though.
I didn't finish season 2. Like, I just thought it was, like, went off a cliff. It's just not for me, and I'm just wondering, like, man, like, I know you filmed a bunch of good stuff. Where did all that stuff go? And how are you gonna cure it? Like, it shouldn't have to be an either or, right? Like, or I think if it is an either or, why isn't it both? Why can't you do full swing for, casual fans or non-golf fans, and then do something that's, "Hey, you know what? We've got access to a bunch of this footage. We cut this up for a true behind the scenes. It's nothing crazy sexy or captivating, but it's just, hey, here's a look behind the scenes on the PGA Tour for a year,
And maybe
I
that pro
think
shop
they're
link was what we'll
right.
get out of that, hopefully.
I think
I would
that
hope so.
the creative choice to sort of focus on one person each episode has now become kind of limiting in the sense of like, all right, we got to get this person's participation. So like, are we going to show anything unflattering about them? Probably not. And like what they do in this sort of time frame is sort of dependent on their results and how compelling is that? Like, what is a Ricky episode from last year going to tell me? Like, that's really compelling and interesting. Unless
Yeah.
it gets really into like Rick feels like he's lost his game and it has sort of these things need to be telling stories that honestly don't always have like it's all great happy ending.
The
Like a Ricky episode.
Chris Ryan test of like 30, like what if I told you, uh,
Yeah.
what if I told you Spieth and JT are friends? That's
What
not
if I
a story.
told you all these guys are class acts?
Yeah.
Think about a Ricky episode that's like about Ricky feeling lost and broken and he's wondering if he ever
I
has
think
his game.
I think
And
it
then
has
that's
to
the
be that.
end of the episode.
Yeah.
That's the end of the episode where it's like, we don't know if it's going to get better.
That
Like
would make me want to watch
it's
a PGA Tour event, especially if he's in contention
yeah.
and potentially going to win.
Yeah. So, but I don't know if they're quite ready to show players in that real light yet.
Um, yeah. One other thing I had, like, last thing from PGA Tour wise, was Nance was during his intro on Friday. He's in Kansas City and he was talking about he was meeting with Mahomes earlier in the day, and Mahomes was talking about how he's a big fan of Ludwig. He wants to go play in Lubbock with Ludwig down at Texas Tech, and he wants Ludwig to play in his charity golf tournament. And
Oh,
I'm
what a
worried,
tough draw for
guys.
you, TC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
You
worried,
got a
and
lot
I,
riding tomorrow, buddy.
lot going on, and this is after Buck Tech won the national championship too.
We got a
I'm
live
down
knowers
bad.
coming up next week. Anybody who wants to dance on TC, or if he gets to dance on you, that's the
Yeah,
price you pay. We'll be seeing it. I'll find it out next week.
yeah, you guys are threatening to Declare me the junior knower of the group.
You get downgraded to junior knower,
Yeah.
and you have to refer to him for that for a whole year. I'm so in on that. No Laying Up is brought to you by FanDuel. From the tee box to the green, FanDuel keeps you in on the PGA Tour action every step of the way, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's $300 if you win. You can bet on outright winners, longest drive, close to the pin, and more. I know who TC's pick is going to be for next week. Just is he going to be back and recovered enough for you to justify it? Like you've been saying it already. Who's going to win next week?
Yeah, I just think we need to get an IV in him and make sure that I don't see the odds out quite yet. Uh, but yes, we need to get an IV in him and just make sure that he's got all that vitamin B12 and he's ready to rock with Ludwig. I mean, he basically won last year and he's going to go back to back.
FanDuel.com/NLU and make your first bet a gimme with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official betting operator of the PGA Tour. Must be 21 and older in select states and 18 and older in present in DC. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. On to the back nine.
Real quick, some odds shifting as far as the TGL league title.
Oh, no.
For this season. The updated odds: Los Angeles Golf Club plus 300, Atlanta Drive plus 310, Boston Common Golf plus 380, the Bay plus 430, which I still feel is
good odds.
extremely disrespectful.
Yeah.
And then Jupiter Links is all the way to plus 650. New York Golf Club is plus 700. I wish I could short both of those teams in like a short parlay.
Those are both of my teams. There's a lot of TGL to come. We're going to get to that. But some interviews for this past week. Seth Waugh sat down with Eamon Lynch from Golf Week. Not going to read the whole thing, but I could. Just an awesome interview. Like Seth, Eamon gets a lot out of people, of course, and Seth was just fantastic in this one. I got a couple nugs to share from that if you all will allow it. But
please, this is the first hole.
First hole of the back nine here.
Or the 10th hole, I should say.
On pay for play, Seth said, because if you take any lesson from the last few, pay for play for the Ryder Cup, excuse me. If you take any lesson in the last few years, the world is tired of talking about money. Golf is supposed to be playing for a higher purpose. That's what the Ryder Cup signifies, you know? And because we give 20% of our television rights to the PGA Tour already, we are paying the players. We're paying all the players, not just 12. I don't think it's going to change their lives because it's not a big enough number to matter to them. They can monetize their participation in a way that blows away whatever you can pay them. And I just think for the players to be asked for it to be paid is kind of a bad look. Spot on. Again, he's just talking like a guy who's no longer the CEO of the PGA of America.
Not beholden to anybody.
And can speak on things directly. Again, he talks about the phone call he made to Donald Trump to take away the Bedminster PGA, which was just an interesting perspective on all of that, and how he still maintains a good relationship with him, and all kinds of really, really good stuff in there. But what I found to be the most interesting on LIV or the current golf situation in general, he said, I'm surprised it's taken as long as it has. It's complicated, but I've done a lot of complicated things that haven't taken this long. That part of it is sort of indefensible. I think there will be a deal for a couple fundamental reasons. You and I have had this conversation, but LIV is a failed economic experiment. Disruption needs one of two things, hopefully both. You need a better product or you need better pricing. No way you can say they're a superior product and they have no pricing because there's no economics. It's not sustainable. I don't care how much money you have. Burning it doesn't feel very good. And I don't see any way out for them. I don't see light at the end of the tunnel where it's going to transform that league. So they need a deal. And the tour needs one as well. SSG, the new owners, need one. There's no question fandom is shrinking, and sponsors are getting edgy because they're being asked to pay more for something that's less. It's not a crisis, but every week that goes by is like a dull ache. Both sides need a deal, and I think now you have a new administration that's going to be much more deal-friendly than the last, and a president who likes the game and wouldn't mind being the guy that fixed golf. That'd be something he'd like to say he did.
Yeah.
All things we've said on this pod, but again, very meaningful coming from Seth, and just good sanity check for me personally of like, okay, like it's like a normal person here. He sounds like a normal person talking about the golf situation instead of like feeling like we're being lied to by everybody in the golf industry right now. So
kind of a shot at Jay as well.
There was a question. Do you think Jay Monahan has done a good job? He said, I think he did an amazing job during COVID. He's done a really good job of understanding the players, being part of the ecosystem and being a partner. I think he was put in a very tough position. It's not just Jay, but the board. They made some mistakes, which really turned a really hard situation a lot worse.
That's about as harsh as I've heard on Jay from somebody in the ecosystem.
It's
So,
hard to argue with a single word of that.
yeah.
So I will say that the president of the United States did say that he was hoping that MBS would invest $1 trillion into America in the coming years. So who knows if that's kind of helps sort of grease things a bit. $1 trillion is a lot of money.
That's like 14 live events, though. Like, that just might be it.
Solly, take us to Derek Sprague, your guy.
The new
D-Man,
CEO of
D-Rock.
the PGA of America, Derek Sprague, did a couple sit-down interviews. Really, it's just the one part in the interview he did with Mike Statura from Golf Digest. It says a ball rollback has been discussed for nearly 2 decades, but interest accelerated in 2018 with more research to define the issues surrounding distance. The USGA and RNA presented the research as an open forum, specifically using the phrase, "Our absolute priority is to ensure that all key stakeholders are involved in an open and inclusive process." But Sprague, who previously served a term as PGA of America president 9 years ago, did not see the final decision playing out that way. Sprague's predecessor, Seth Waugh, did send a memo to the USGA and RNA specifically objecting to a rules proposal in August of 2023, 4 months before the rollback standard was announced. And in that memo, Waugh made reference to conflicting data regarding distances. Current PGA Tour statistics show that average driving distance has gone up 4.1 yards since 2018, or an average of 2 feet per year. Sprague's comments have clearly set the PGA of America and PGA Tour in an opposite camp in the distance discussion compared to golf's other leading stakeholders, which include the USGA, RNA, and Augusta National. Sprague's quote was, I wasn't involved in that, but I can tell you from what I've heard is that there hasn't been a lot of discussion. To my knowledge, we haven't had a lot of dialogue on it. We really want to have a seat at the table because we're a key component in the golf ecosystem.
Oh, this guy sounds so unserious. I mean, straight up, like Seth Waugh came from running a multi-billion-dollar global bank, and he sat on boards. And Derek Sprague was running TPC Sawgrass for the last decade. Like, get the fuck out of here, man.
For those that don't know, there was open comment periods. The USGA has, doesn't rule with an iron fist. There's been a ton of seats at the table for everyone involved.
Fucking gaslighting is what it is. Try to say that you weren't involved in it,
I don't agree with Seth's take on it either. But I think he's a serious person. Yeah. He's not outright lying about it. Like, it's just so funny to me that the PGA of America was so intent on having one of their own become the head of the organization that they wanted to cut their nose off to spite their face. To just basically put one arm behind their back in order to have one of their own as a leader. It blows my mind. It's so unserious.
It's also just pandering, right? It's not, I don't think that this is a really thought out, logical position. I think it's just pandering to the kind of what you think will be the more popular position with people, which is, oh no, everybody wants to hit bombs.
Yeah. The other interview he did with Golf Week, he said, like I've said in some prior interviews, I don't know what recreational golfer or many tour professionals, quite frankly, that want to hit the ball shorter. It's like, oh, that is the most elementary possible understanding. That is the pandering. Like, that is the most elementary understanding of the issues at hand that you could possibly have. And of course, he understands it beyond that, but to put that out publicly is just straight pandering. But anyways, not going to do a full distance thing tonight, but we could do it pretty much every week. So
one other interview, Lanny Watkins had one. I thought it was really interesting. Like, it was with Ron Green Jr. in Global Golf Post. Pretty candid. Went from talking about his TV career, which he was saying he said one guy up in New York, one suit up in New York basically ended his career. That guy didn't even last a month into Faldo's tenure before he stepped down. And then he was talking about his design. Solly's working on TPC Craig Ranch right now. He said he's into just, old school, classic, traditional stuff. But he had a really good story about Rome. He said he was one of 10 former captains in attendance in Rome, and he was disappointed by how the American players treated the group. We were in a room across from the locker room. We were not allowed in the players' locker room. At the hotel, they had a massive team room, and we were not allowed in there, Watkins said. The European team room and locker room are all about bringing them in, making it a celebration of their history and tradition. Our guys wanted nothing to do with us. Can you imagine Palmer and Nicholas and Hogan and Jackie Burke sitting there? It's me and Crenshaw and Curtis playing. we'd have been spending all of our time in that room with those guys. Not one person even came in and said hello to us. That soured me on that bunch of players really fast.
Meanwhile, the European team has a locker for Sevi that all 12 players have to worship at before they go out and play.
Be sure to tap the Sevi statue in the middle of the room.
What do we got in the live corner, TC? Second hole.
Yeah. A lot of to recap. We got a Cleeks rebrand this week. Huge rebrand. All right. They dropped an absolute banger of a hype reel to announce the new branding.
What was the line? Tradition refreshed?
Tradition refreshed or unleashed or something like that. They came out with a $5,000 leather weekend bag. And then they've been holstering this clapback to Max Homa for 2 years on socials. Max said, what the fuck? WTF is a clique, I think is what he said. And so they had this whole long reel that explained what a clique is and you know, some catchy stuff in there of Blandy showing his hardware from both of his senior tours. Yeah, so you know they clapped Max on socials and then it was tough. It was a tough week for the Cleeks.
Their whole like everything that went on this week was like it was like an AI chat GPT like spit out of like, what should we do on social media this week? It's like, oh, you should do like the live account clap back at Max on this. What did they say exactly about we'll trade you YouTube advice for major advice or something like that? Yeah. Just like there's a new live social person that's trying to make some wavelengths over there, but it seems so wildly misdirected. It's just like a bot that needs reprogrammed over there. Tradition refresh got me
reprogramming.
Tradition
just
refresh.
Focus on your own product. Like, what are you doing drive-bys on Max for? It's not like Max is like a super like relevant person in the game at the moment. So like, what the fuck is this? What are you gaining?
They have to draft off the PGA Tour. That's their only hope of any kind of relevance. But tradition refreshed in a league that is entering its 4th season. Like it just got me so like the fucking tradition of the Cleeks got me so good. But it's 100% serious. It's the most serious.
Dude, how good was the video though?
Like Adrian Moronk in the shower.
The shower,
that was sick. I would love to see the storyboards for that. Like, all right, we're gonna get Adrian coming up in the shower, like with this shot here, slow motion.
They filmed it up in Italy, in like northern Italy, I think. I don't know. Yeah, they also announced they're gonna kick off 2025 season under the lights. That's Saudi Arabia.
That's a good move.
Speaking of bots, Rick Shields signed to live.
Got a Letterman's jacket out of it.
Yeah. That's a weird. I watched that video.
What do you guys think of that?
I think it's like the speech and debate kids getting a letter, you know, in the thing. I just it
was like Neil getting the varsity letter for playing the one match.
I mean, what good for Rick? He obviously is just going to do whatever he can to make money, and that's you know, more power to him. If that's your thing, whatever. But it's not exactly my thing. But you know, people like he's obviously very successful at YouTube, so I could see why Liv would want to go after him. But just not my thing.
He's been repped by Performance 54 for quite a while now, and I'll just say his YouTube subscribers went up pretty. It was parabolic there for a while.
Yeah.
Over a couple months stretch, a couple years ago.
People in Indonesia just loving those Rick Shields chipping videos.
A lot of people in Sri Lanka, the Philippines,
Romania.
I think Neil used to play that game. Back in his old days.
I don't know Rick personally. I like him. The brief online interactions we've had, I have absolutely nothing against him. It made me a little sad, and just in general of like, you know, the kind of the OG YouTube pioneer is doing what we've been accused of doing for a long time, of like basically selling out to a tour, which it's not accurate on our part, but like he's broadcasting that he is doing this, and the harassment like we've gotten over the years for our perceived relationship with the PGA Tour, which never made any sense, but like this is actually happening on this other side. Like they're buying up a media person to, you know, kind of inflate their image. And I'm guessing those same people that were harassing us won't send that harassment. I'm not asking people to harass Rick on that front, but it's just like, yeah, people have long said, oh, you guys would sell out in a heartbeat. And it just kind of, I don't know, it makes me a little sad to see it happening.
Speak for yourself, Solly. I'm already sold out. I got the Cleeks hat on. It's something too with Rick where it's like, honestly, like I think it's a good move for Liv. Like it's
Yeah,
something they probably should have
smart.
done a couple of years ago, right? Of like make it,
Make it fun,
make your
make it light.
product truly different,
Is Liv
right?
just going to end up being
Yeah.
YouTube golf? Like
Maybe.
everybody wants, they celebrate the Bryson stuff. I mean, Bryson gets way more views on his YouTube videos than Live telecasts do. Like, are they just eventually going to see like the opportunity, instead of standing up all these events that we're just hemorrhaging money on, the opportunity to reach so many more people via YouTube? I mean,
It's Neil's point about how Logan Paul should have been like on the
yeah,
first tee at Live. Like
Yeah.
that's, if you want to make it funny and different and whatever, do that.
yeah.
Yeah. Last thing I had was just third leg. Greg did an interview with Australian Golf Digest. Allegedly wants to bury the hatchet with Tiger and Rory. I don't think that's Greg's decision to make. It's kind of where
He
I'm
wanted to be
sitting there.
thanked by them, though. He wanted to bury the hatchet, but also like have them acknowledge that he
Yeah,
put a bunch of money in their pocket.
Which
Tiger,
they've
thank me
done.
for the pip. Yes,
They've done that so many times. His quote was, I'd love for them to recognize the fact that like Tiger with his pip money, that only came because of Liv, right? So Tiger benefited from that. Rory's definitely benefited from that. I would love to sit down and talk with to them about it. No question about it, because I'm not a judgmental person, and you only learn the facts and truth when you hear the other side. And he said, but yes, would I like to sit down with them? Sure, absolutely. And you know what? I'd win the debate. Greg, that is exactly why nobody wants to sit down and talk to you. Like that attitude right there. One, like gaslighting on the front end of, that many people have said like, oh, Liv's been great for the finances of top players of the PGA Tour, and I'd win the debate. Like, you've had your
yeah.
chance. It's time.
Liv's telling you to go away.
Yes, it's moving upstairs.
Speaking of going away,
Oh,
this brings us to our 12th hole, the third hole of the back nine, the Bethpage tee times scandal. KVV dropped this week on Tuesday. If you haven't listened yet, please do. KVV,
Yes.
I'll throw it over to you. What was any surprising reaction? What's been the reaction?
for those that
You heard
haven't
back from
listened
the
or
state?
unaware,
Yeah.
do a quick intro as to what it was as well.
Yeah, this is part of our public golf series where we're just trying to find stories that are outside of the world of pro golf that we think affect a lot more people. And in general, well, the first two that we've kind of tried to understand is like when you go to book a tee time these days online, like there's a lot of cities where you just are totally fucked if you cannot, like, even if you are clicking the minute that the tee times are available. And the reason is clearly that people are gotten really, good these days at building bots. And the bots are overwhelming this 4UP software that is in a lot of cities in America that runs a lot of golf courses around the world. Like, and it doesn't seem to be particularly good at defending itself against bots. And so in this episode, we took a look at the kind of most famous public golf facility in the United States, Bethpage State Park. And, I just sort of ticked through the history of not only like why it matters that, this is available to the everyman, the kind of the hack golfer. This was kind of the entire reason that it had a glow up. It's not only the reason it started way back in the days of Robert Moses, but the reason that, the USGA invested $3 million into it because they wanted to have an open for kind of the everyday, muni golfer. And, we found over the course of, the history of it, just barely really scratching the surface, plenty of people who admitted to botting the site when it was a phone system, when it was an online system, people who are still botting the system now. We found someone on Reddit who was able to get us a tee time that, giving under like a fake handle, or, pretending that we were a resident in Texas. And, I think the reaction to my surprise was that the state just kind of had nothing to say. They was just like, no, we don't think bots are a problem. I emailed them a long, detailed thing, kind of basically saying this is everything that is we want to know that's coming. We're going to talk about in the podcast. You have 10 days to respond, and 9 days and 23 hours later, they sent a thing right before 5 o'clock on a Friday that was basically like, yeah, here's our response. And it was basically like, we take this concern seriously. We don't think bots are a problem. We check IDs at the door.
What if I told you they are?
Yeah. And so the fallout, first of all, was that I got a lot of emails from people saying, oh my God, I'm so glad you took this on. This has been such a frustration to me and my friends. Some people saying, yeah, I've been able to sort of get on the system, but it's because I use a bot. Maybe everyone should learn to build a bot, this and that here and there. A friend of ours, I won't use their name, but they had a really funny story kind of talking about how a person from their work was sort of using a bot to, I'll just read it here. A guy at work during COVID,
A very reputable workplace.
very reputable workplace. A guy at work during COVID was basically using a bot to get tee times at Bethpage, and it worked automatically. He showed up one day to play, and the cops had showed up because they had accused him of hacking a website. And since it's a .gov website, it was hacking into a government site. He explained what he was doing, which wasn't hacking, and they let him off, but they put him in the back of a cop car and off the jump and in handcuffs. I just thought you'd appreciate this story. So there are some instances where the state parks are trying to use the cops to sort of go after some of these people. But one of the things that I found out this morning is that one of the people, the guy who was in our podcast, Eric Benyak, who had sort of taken this on as a personal crusade, the state park suspended his account and basically prevent him from future making tee times at Bethpage, which I find to be like incredibly petty and incredibly sort of BS in this situation.
And possibly like illegal.
I mean,
right?
First of all, I would be really curious, and I sent the state another email this morning asking for comment about this. What evidence do you have other than what like Eric talked about himself on our podcast? Did you do an actual investigation? Did the person whom we hired as a broker on Reddit to make us the seat time, did that person get suspended? Because that guy was on Reddit basically bragging for 2 full days about how he could get tee times for anybody if they wanted him. He was basically like taunting the fact that he appeared in the podcast, that his Reddit handle is, and offering up his services for other people. And so, it didn't get any response from the state. I'm sure no one is working this weekend. It just is sort of like a pretty ridiculous example of like, you're not focusing on the right things. Here, Eric is like actually, foiling the state to try to get these, this information to sort of prove that, hey, tons of out-of-state people, 20% of the tee times booked on these courses every month are from out-of-state accounts, which seems impossible unless it's getting hacked. Like, you cannot book tee times having to wait 2 extra days, which is what the state park's current rules are. Some of the other things, I actually got a call from someone who works within the state of New York, who has access to the 4UP software, who talked to me about it. This is how I think the system is being manipulated. It's very easy to change people's things, their accounts after the fact, so that they have access that they shouldn't have. Basically said too, it's absolutely true that you could run a report in the 4UP software very easily on every single account that would show you how many times this account has played the black. You're only allowed to play the black once every 28 days. So it would be very easy to find out if this is being violated. You're only allowed to play the red once every 14 days. We had tons of stories of people just basically playing it whenever they wanted to. So there's a lot of stuff here. And the one thing too, they wanted me to add is like, the real problem here is in Albany. It's with your gal, Kathleen Hochul, TC. Like, it's not with the state park system as much. There are people, or certainly at the course, who want to get this right, who want to sort of combat these bots. But the people in Albany truly do not care. The tee sheets are filled. They're getting paid. The state's in a deficit, so they're trying to sort of like make as much money as they can in any way back. They're not going to sort of like invest time or energy into this. But it's shitty for the people out there who don't have time or the wherewithal to have an engineering degree and build a bot or pay someone to build a bot. It is truly just bots fighting each other for tee times day after day. And yes, some people can sort of sneak in and get a cancellation here and there, but it is a war of bots, and the regular golfer is getting screwed on it.
Well, it goes back to like what Fink was saying out in LA, right? Of like, golf helped save his life, right? Maybe like, hey, if you can't get a tee time and go play, pretty hard for golf to make an impact on your life, right? And I think so. It's ripping that opportunity from people. The state seems fine to give Delaware North a sweetheart deal on, or like, hey, you know what? Maybe this is something Derek Sprague should spend his time looking into and have his PGA pros that probably staff. There's probably some of them on staff up there. Look into that. Make this part of your crusade, Derek, if you want to grow the game so much, right?
I mean, there's tons of juniors kids who get to play Bethpage, and that's a huge part of like junior opportunity to play golf in Long Island. If you're, if you're not a member of a country club, like, what do we want the game to be? Do we want it to just have access to really rich people and people who have either the time, the wherewithal, or the money to buy bots? Like that seems pretty fucking ridiculous. Like that it's just
Well, and it's people that are making money all like they're
yeah.
taking money out of the state's coffers, right?
Mhm.
That's the other thing. Or if it's like, all right, I got to play Bethpage a bunch when I was a junior, but now I'm 18 and I can't play it anymore.
Yeah.
That sucks
Yeah.
just as much.
Well, it's funny to me
Yeah.
too, like the no, we don't have a bot problem. Their comment to you and Eric's suspension just don't go really hand in hand to me.
Right.
Of
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It's really
In
messed
a
up.
Ryder Cup year
I
too.
know.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
look, it could Eric's suspension have been one rogue employee? Like any employee has basically like the ability to suspend an account, and then you have to call and sort of convince them to sort of unsuspend it. So this could be the actions of one person
Yeah.
who sort of, decided, oh, this is bullshit. Like we need to look into this, or is pissed off about the state park system being embarrassed this way. But that still doesn't make it right. Right. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like someone high up needs to go in on Monday and basically be like, this is
Yeah.
not the way that we are dealing with this.
Guys, I'm going to reroute the golf course a little bit here. We're going to do a composite routing because I think the 8th hole
Mhm.
actually plays better right after this, and that is GolfNow announced this week their new Athena technology for golf courses, ushering in a new era of revenue optimization. This is
Oh.
according to their press release.
Just what I hear all the time from people is I would love to use a system that prioritizes revenue optimization.
And so DJ has glossed this the Greek goddess of price gouging. My first thought was, man, I would hate to be an assistant pro managing the shop on the day where you get a rain out
Yeah.
and there's 65 different rates out there because oh, this is a 920 rate and this guy's booked before, and we're going to charge him $67, but we're going to charge this other guy $117 even though it's at 15 minutes later. Just stuff like that. It just seems like it's like this is kind of the way that the world's going now. I know Kroger just announced they're putting facial recognition technology into checkout kiosks and stuff like that, and it's just really dark and bleak, I think, and it sucks that golf courses and pro shops at the local muni are turning to revenue optimization strategies to just extract every last cent. And then meanwhile, you got Bethpage that is willingly letting brokers and bots scam people out of $30-$40 per tee time. Like maybe focus on that first.
Amen. I just this desire to use AI to like basically cut out any human element of anything. Like running a fucking tee sheet is kind of an art, right? Like you're able to fit people in here. You're able to sort of do some, do a solid for this guy here. You're able to pair up these people who might be good. That's a kind of part of what makes golf special, right? We just like a fucking bot basically be like, oh, charge him 150. This says that the next hour is going to be very lucrative for us. That sucks.
I just love it called Athena. It's so good.
Forecast looks great. It's 45,000 daily pricing decisions it's capable of. There's 24 hours in a day. There's only like 14 or 15 hours of golfable time in the middle of the summer even. 45,000 daily pricing decisions.
I'm gonna direct my complaints to Carson Daly and Rory on this one. I just see if they can get to the bottom of this.
Kevin, take us to the next hole because this is a fun one.
All right, so the Gary Player played with Grant Horvath this week in a YouTube video, and a lot of, I must have been tagged in 50 things. People asking me to do the Gary impression, or that they could no longer watch Gary without thinking of me doing this, which thank you. I appreciate that deeply. I have 0 major championships. He has 9. So together we have 9 major championships. We're clearly on equal ground. I did get a very funny note from one reader who I will keep anonymous. He said, hey, I wanted to pass this along with regards to the Gary Player Grant Horvath video. The video was filmed at the club where my parents live in Jupiter. Everyone there hates him. There are days that he does that kind of stuff for hours on the range, and he's been asked multiple times to stop. At its worst, he will stand by the first tee near the practice green and introduce himself and do his shtick for 10 minutes. The starter gets so mad. he starts with, "Hello, I'm Gary Player, the most traveled man in the world. I'm 89 years old and I can kick my foot over my head." Most people start politely leaving when he starts asking people to feel his abs. If you have been
my friends that
harassed,
did.
if you have been harassed by Gary Player, please reach out to me for either a class action lawsuit or an anecdote on a future podcast.
You may be entitled to specific
To
compensation. Guys, another good feel good one. Corn Ferry Tour was a good watch this week. I watched quite a bit of that. They were on that Saturday to Tuesday cadence, which freaking rules. Like, the more golf you can throw on a Monday, Tuesday, even a Wednesday, great stuff. Kevin Price from PGA Tour wrote this up. 23-year-old, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation here, Sudarshan Yella Mararju, I think.
That's pretty good.
That's right.
Beat the tournament scoring record by 7 strokes. The tournament's been around for 8 or 9 years. This was down in the Abacos. Second year on KFT, he finished 99th on the points list last year with only 2 top 25 starts. He had only conditional status and then finished 36th at Q School. His family moved from India to Winnipeg when he was a little kid. He started playing golf at 6, and then he moved to Toronto area and turned pro because he couldn't afford college and didn't get any good offers. And beat the shit out of everybody down in the Bahamas. And just a really good interview afterwards, and different kind of background, both, guy growing up in Canada and hitting in, indoor domes and all that. And now he's a Corn Ferry Tour winner and inside track at getting his tour card for next year. So great stuff there. Other news and notes from down there. Hank Libiota, last week's winner, finished T7. Good to see Hank playing well. And I mean, probably only a couple more good starts for him until he can lock down his card. Friend of the program, Luke Guthrie, was the first round leader and finished T5. That was his first top 5 in kind of any sort of PGA Tour sanctioned event since 2019. And Luke's just the easiest guy to root for. And I mean, he was among the top, 50 or 60 guys in the world at one point out on the tour. And just he's been just kind of climbing his way back for the last 6, 7, 8 years. And then Christo Lamprecht finished 4th as well. So one thing I'd like to say, I hope all the people that complain incessantly about the smaller fields on tour dedicate some of that energy to following the Corn Ferry Tour, tracking the stories and seeing how the season goes along. They go to Panama next week. They go to Colombia after that. End of February, they're down in Argentina at the Jockey Club. Unfortunately, those aren't televised, but you can still kind of track it and keep up to date with it. But I think all these people that are lamenting, oh, these guys don't have chances, or these guys don't have, like, the boundaries have just shifted a little bit, right? Or the thresholds are just a little bit different. And to me, making it from the Corn Ferry Tour to the PGA Tour is still like the biggest jump in golf. And it's down to 20 guys making it this year, instead of 25 for the regular season. So it's a really good crop out on that tour this year as far as PGA Tour, you guys, and gritty veterans and up and comers. It's awesome. So, next up, LPGA cancellation. This is weird, guys. This is really weird. The Fur Hills Sayri Pak event at Palos Verdes Golf Club was canceled this week. This is I think it's a March event. Canceled this week due to the underwriter failing to fulfill any portion of payment obligations to the LPGA Tour for both the 2024 and 2025 events. This is like the fact that they didn't pay and then they put it back on the schedule for this year and announced the schedule.
No, we're good for it. We swear. This is coming.
It's a sweet golf course too. That's a really, really freaking good event. This is tough.
It's a bummer. Yeah. And it's, I feel bad for Sayri Pak. I don't know what I think Fur Hills is some kind of small investment firm out of Silicon Valley. I'm not sure if the sponsor is the problem or the underwriter is the problem. I think the underwriter was out of Korea. So trying to get more info there, but I just thought the whole thing was nuts. And also I had an idea for LPGA commissioner.
Please.
I think Jay Monahan should pop over
He
there.
read this by me
for the next 5 years.
You read this by me on Friday. I was like,
you've made such a you've made such a mess out of the men's pro game that like you should go pay it forward on the women's side. And I think he's pretty good at like drumming up sponsors and
100%.
the guy could sell, you know,
He could sell
like
decorators.
ice to Eskimos, right? And it's like, yeah, I mean, there's an official, you know, rain delay or suspension of play tweet partner for the PGA Tour. Like, hey, bring that expertise over to line up a better sponsor than Fur Hills for the Palos Verdes event, right? So, that was just my thought. So seventh hole, or the second to last hole, penultimate hole. We had some USGA stuff. National team additions were announced. 14 returning players from 2024, 8 new players. The more I talk to people about this, I think the regional teams and the state teams are where it's really going to make a difference. There's going to be, all these regional and state teams that ladder up to the national team as well. And then I guess they're doing there's an elite AM roster now, which I think Koiven and Clanton are on. And then there's a young professionals thing that they're going to do eventually as well. So Walker Cup pricing is out. Not sure when tickets are going on sale yet, but I don't think there's very many of them, probably a couple hundred, but $100 a ticket for Friday practice round, 200 a ticket for Saturday and Sunday. And each adult applicant will have the option to apply for one complimentary junior ticket per day. That's out at Cypress Point. That's going to be a hot ticket in September. And then, so it's basically just on NBC and Golf Channel to step up with some decent coverage for it.
It has
And
to,
then
right? When to go in there if you're
I would
not
hope
gonna
so.
check that out in coverage.
I mean, play offense, right? Like you could probably get pretty good ratings.
Absolutely.
Here's Cypress Point on TV. Yeah. Inverness is going under the knife again. It seems like they're angling to get a major in the future. Andrew Green redid it 6 or 7 years ago.
It's crazy to turn around that quickly.
So. Have you guys ever played there?
Yeah, we played it. We filmed out there with Pat Hurst.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Before ahead of the Solheim Cup, but yeah,
it's crazy.
I don't know what they're doing.
A Hollywood actor going back for more plastic surgery.
Yeah.
Like after a 6-year span.
They took out all the trees. I mean, they did all the things that unless they're just lengthening it and making it tougher. I don't. It was hard as shit.
It sounded like
during
just
the Solheim Cup.
bunkers and lengthening and
bunkers were deep. I mean,
a couple new spots.
I don't know what work could possibly need done there, but interesting.
Last hole, TGL, week 3 react. What do you got for me? What worked? What didn't?
Yeah, I like the Dirty Bird.
Billy rushed the Dirty Bird a little bit. I like the idea. I think he admitted to rushing it a little bit as well. This one was kind of circled on the calendar, I think, for a lot of people. Of like, we'll find out what the TGL is at this point. No Rory, no Tiger, no opening night, kind of carrying it. I didn't like the answer. It was kind of like, man, like all the fears of it kind of all came to fruition on that one night. We are going to get hit really, really, really hard with TGL here. Like
getting hit many, many times over the head with a hammer.
I didn't realize it until I looked it up. I think there's 7 matches in a 9-day span for the TGL at a certain point. From February 17th, there's a triple header February 17th, another match on February 18th, and then 2 more on February 24th, and another on February 25th. So it's still on the weekly cadence. It's Monday this week. Jupe Links against Boston Commons, 6:30 Eastern time, and then the following week is Tuesday. They're off a week, and then the triple header start. Then that crazy stretch starts. But it's not kind of the same thoughts I've had with all of them. The gameplay it was really unimpressive. Like the ball doesn't really roll on the ground. It's the same view of the ball in the air, and it just isn't that interesting. It just kind of feels like a cheap video game of the final edge of the technology. For all the talk about it being about the technology, it just seems like a disappointment there. I know My Golf Spy had a thing going around on just kind of analyzing, listen, we're sponsored by Foresight, so if you want to discount our opinion on, I've never hit a full swing simulator, so I don't know how to test them, but it doesn't seem to have the strongest tech. And to our jokes of Tiger, blowing it over the green by 30 yards, I think they do have some tech problems, if I was being just objective on it. And the players are trying not to complain about it during the middle of the action, and you can tell, but it just kind of seems like that part is missing from it. And I didn't expect to have that kind of complaint about it, I guess.
I really wish the
agree.
balls would roll in the greens more. Like
Yeah.
sometime like hit a slope and have it rip all the way across. Like that would build some drama and some fun of like, oh, Vegas is gonna hole out. No, it just stops like basically within a foot or two, no matter what gets hit.
Velcro.
It seems like they were so obsessed with making it serious golf and tethered back to reality that they beat all the interesting, curious stuff out of it, or all the variables out of it. It just doesn't feel like it's evolved over the 3 weeks, like I thought it would, and solid to your point, like the graphics and the gameplay just doesn't. I was expecting to be more blown away, and I think the triple headers might be like tough, like 6 straight hours of this, and I mean, I feel like guys are going to be exhausted in there, and I know it's different teams and all that, but 6 hours of this straight is going to be a lot. So we'll see. I mean, Boston Common hasn't played yet. This is their debut this week. So we'll see.
And
See
maybe
what happens.
maybe
Get
the
as many
real
blood in
changes
there.
come between years 1 and 2,
Yeah.
It
I hope we get to year 2 at this point, Solly.
I know, that's a good point. Well, they're talking
I think they
expansion.
will.
a little bit
Well,
short,
that's the
yeah.
thing. Like McCarley, like can't. Hey, he showed him this week, and he was like staring off into oblivion at one point during the thing. But, Arthur Blank was there,
AB.
doing his normal thing.
AB.
Like, yeah. AB, he was doing his normal thing, which he's normally always on the field for the Falcons games. TGL was no different. It's
Guys,
it's it,
Bryson would be really good in this format. He would be
hell
really
yeah, he would.
entertaining. Bryson should be the fucking playing commissioner next year, frankly.
Billy was great too. I thought
Yeah.
Billy was gonna I was worried if Billy, all right, is Billy gonna be too into it or a little bit cringe and all that? I thought Billy was good. Cantley didn't throw the hammer one time.
He's too analytical about the hammer. He was right though. He's like, once you're ahead, like it doesn't make sense to give up the hammer and give the other team a possibility of getting 2 points out of a situation. The hammer needs some tweaking. They got to figure the hammer out.
Audience should be able to throw the hammer, or the commissioner should be able to throw the
Or
hammer.
like every 3 holes, it should automatically revert.
So that was a
with the hammer is like a surprise. It just comes out of nowhere.
I don't care if it was fake. Especially the first week, the crowd noise carried a lot of the shit. Like there was energy, and this week it was so flat. So maybe they need the paid seat fillers to take things into their own hands. Maybe they need the fanatics there. But it really did. I thought that honestly added like kind of some jeering for bad shots and stuff in those first couple of weeks, way better than the third week. It just kind of was like, "Ooh, why are we doing this?"
And then Billy was saying, producer Jeff, shout out to Newbar,
Friend of the program,
wanted me to keep this thing close, quote, or wanted it to not be a blowout after a bunch of blowouts, because that's the one thing we haven't really gotten a super competitive one. And then Billy backtracked on all of that and said, "No, I was being sarcastic." It certainly didn't sound.
Really, you didn't think it sounded sarcastic? I mean,
I thought I thought it was sarcastic.
I thought it was just like a bad execution of a joke. I don't think I don't think they were throwing the match of any kind. I think there was definitely probably like, "Hey, can we keep it close this time?" Like, there's been blowouts, but I do not think there was any. That was the Luke Elvey talking points that were floating around on the Everything app this past week. Every single person had to see who's betting on this thing.
I had not thought about that man in quite a while. So thank you for bringing that back to me.
No, I do not think that they're throwing matches of any kind. I do think he was joking.
On that note, that will conclude our back nine, our second nine. Solly, I want to toss it over to you. We got a banger of a Tuesday upcoming. This week.
We're actually going to set out a day early. So coming up this coming week, we are going to be at Pebble Beach doing some live shows like we did last year. We're going to be live on the range Wednesday. It's going to be 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time, 8 to 11 Pacific time. That's on Wednesday. And then we're going to be live on Thursday afternoon, actually during the television window, 4 to 7 Eastern time or 1 to 4 Pacific time. We're going to be doing that from a hospitality house near the course, and got some fun things planned for all those live shows. So because of the Wednesday, Thursday lineup for this week, we're bumping up our Tuesday episode. It's going to come out kind of Monday night, overnight into Tuesday. KVV and I sat down with Joe Mayo, the now famous golf coach, former coach, once current coach, former coach again of Victor Hovland. Kev had some great quotes from him in the Victor Hovland piece that he reported, and has a great relationship with him. And we wrangled him for a podcast interview. It's only like the third one he said he's ever done. He said he's turned down hundreds of requests, but we got him to sit down, and it's fucking electric, man. It's awesome. Like, it's great. He could put us all out of business if he just started a podcast, because he is like just an incredible storyteller and just brought the heat. And I hope we need to have him back like quarterly, because I just want to pick that guy's brain on golf. He's awesome. So
truly fun.
Stay subscribed and be ready to hit the play on that one as soon as it hits as of Tuesday morning. So
Sam Stevens, instructor as well.
Yeah, he got a little shout out. Mayo got a shout out there on 18 when he hit that nipper into the 18th green. But
so it's about 36 degrees here in Baltimore. Snow on like 80% of my yard. I went and found the grass today, just and had to get a little bit steep on the ball, practice some chipping. I was like, I
tried it.
I'm so in on some of this.
I can't right now. Let me get past the tournament, and then I'll get deep on it, because I feel like I'm conflating two different things right now.
Sure,
but
you're Victor Hovland.
Yeah,
then, essentially, you're confusing.
I'm caught between release patterns.
We had a good one from Neil this past week as well. Neil's personal golf pod, and that was really happy with the feedback on
Yeah,
that.
got a lot of great feedback on that. We kind of were doing these house meetings on YouTube of just kind of updates on golf and things like that. It was hard to do with 9 people on a screen, 10 people on a screen at a time. And we're going to separate them out. So me and DJ basically interviewed Neil about golf and some of his favorite courses, favorite experiences, life experiences. And we chatted for a long time with him. Got a lot of great feedback on that one. So we're going to keep going around the horn with everyone on those. And they're off to a great start. So we're stoked about that.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to shout out, Blocky and the Fireballs both followed No Laying Up on Instagram this week. So I'm just going to ask people, are you following on the gram? Yeah. Are your friends?
How about
your family?
We're going to be doing a lot more social content this year. That is we're going to have some offsite meetings out at Pebblewall. We're out there as well, but it's a goal of ours to do a lot more on Instagram. So if you're not following us on Instagram, please do that as well.
Yeah. And then lastly, I wanted to give a shout out to the DP World Tour Kids Clubs video. Did you guys watch that?
I haven't watched it yet.
It's really good. I mean, it continues their run of just top shelf.
I watched their like how do you go viral thing, which I had very low expectations for it, and I was like, God, it clears the bar for good. Like, it is still really good.
Bangers only.
So that's going to do it from this week's episode of the No Laying Up podcast. Tune into the live shows this week. They're going to be a lot of fun. We got guests lined up, some fun guests, some fun themes we'll be working through. We're going to be on the air for a long time, so we're going to do a lot of different stuff. And everyone tune in to Pebble. It's going to be a great event. Hopefully, weather looks a lot better for this to get 4 rounds in this go around as a signature event with all the best players in the world. So it's going to be exciting. TC, thanks for running us through the back 9. Kev, thanks for joining as well. Everyone get a little bit of sleep, and we'll see you tomorrow out in Monterey. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Unsuspend Eric's account, Bethpage.
Seriously.
Governor Hochul, unsuspend this account.